What's up, y'all? Shuffle. In today's video is me reviewing this article about Darkest Dungeon 1 and party teams or compositions or whatever, and DD1 content in 2022. That's pretty exciting to see. So let's take a look at what the games journalists have to say about making teams in this game, because as we've seen from other articles in the past, they usually have some spotty information. So efficiency is the glue that holds the party or the players' flimsy and meek heroes together. Their dynamics as a party dictates whether players can face the abyss or succumb to it after so many futile attempts at winning an uphill battle. Players will lose their heroes time and again as part of the gameplay loop. Darkest Dungeon best mods. Why is this the link for the next article? Marvin CO. Alright. That's another one for another time, but let's see. Just a bunch of filler, it looks like. And then updated. Oh, this must be an old article that was updated recently. I see. Darkest Dungeon 2 is looking great so far, even in its alpha stage. Call it more of a beta. But as always with these kinds of games, going in prepared is almost mandatory for those who value their fragile blood vessels and precious blood pressure rates. Just so happens that Darkest Dungeon is the best way to do this. To make things even easier, using some awesome Darkest Dungeon team comps is recommended. After all, the community veterans have simmered in the collective knowledge of Darkest Dungeon best team compositions for many years now. So picking the strongest teams based on community testing and preferences is a good way to familiarize oneself in this foreboding and unforgiving game world. Does that mean this article did research? Did they look at prominent YouTubers like Shuffle FM? Who knows? But let's see. All around and thematic teams. These teams are the kind that players can take in 2 or more dungeon or area types without having to shuffle around or change too much. They work well in several situations and scenarios and are reliable to fall back on. Ah yes, Rot Squad. 4 lepers. That's literally the party composition. Is it endgame material? Of course not. Unless all those lepers are fully equipped with the best trinkets, they don't expect them to be viable for the toughest long dungeons. This is, again, the best mods link. What the heck? Even then, there are some teams that handle those locales better. Some teams? What? This kind of team is the one players roll with for fun, yes, in short or medium dungeons at most. So actually, medium dungeons are easier than short ones. I know it's kind of weird to say that, but camping really makes most dungeons manageable, and that's why medium is usually the best. But let's see, because of that, it turns out 4 lepers pack quite a punch and can crush short and infrequent fights before things get out of hand. The only problem here is the lepers' legendary accuracy, or lack thereof, before them should minimize the misses. What do you... Plus, they have a good chance to become virtuous. So virtue chance for everyone is 25% base, and it goes down if you're low level compared to the dungeon, so this doesn't mean anything. Having extra lepers doesn't change your accuracy. You need trinkets and skills to do that, and the 2 lepers in the back literally do nothing. They just sit there and soak. So this definitely is not correct. Like, this is a fun team, that's it. Like, Rod Squad's a meme, this team sucks, and it should not even be presented like it has upsides. 2 lepers are usually better than 4, which is weird, but there you go. Anti-move team, aka dance team, but I don't expect them to know all the terminology, which is fine. Not gonna go after them for that. Shield Breaker, Crusader, Highwayman, and Vestal. So this is Grave Robber. I really wish they put the right person in here, but I will take all Grave Robber propaganda. That's fine. One of the worst things that can happen to a team where each member has a specialized role is that if that role designation gets interrupted. Lots of enemies tend to do that with their chain or hook attacks. I mean, they're in the Warren, so they probably basing off like Butcher Pig or something. It can be difficult to recover from such a predicament, and players will end up wasting turns healing from the fallout. So this is actually true. But the thing here, wasting turns, like, this person doesn't stall. And they don't talk about stalling, I think, ever. I've skimmed through this, but a lot of these teams, like Rot Squad, can survive because you stall. Any team can survive if you can stall, and I'm not talking about that. That's why this team exists. It's well equipped to counteract the devastating move attack. Shieldbreaker does some heavy lifting here, as even if she gets moved, she has an attack that will send her back to the front line. Yes. Crusader has the same. Highwayman has a retreat attack. Highwayman can move everywhere. He's got Duelist and he's got a PBS to move backwards, but you know, the info's a bit spotty, but they got this one right. This is even with Grave Robber, but if this was Highwayman, this team is pretty mobile and it can do pretty well if it gets moved out of position because people can still get around. So that, not bad, right? I'll give credit where it's due, but if you're gonna call out Highwayman, put him in your picture. Universal teams, 2 Crusaders, a Grave Robber, and a Vestal. This team is slow AF. The trick that makes this team work as Universal Party from any locale is that the 2 frontline Crusaders, 2 frontline Crusaders should have Holy Lance and a heal. So you take out the word frontline, and this information is actually solid. So you can make an infinite lunge team out of this. Yeah, you put Vestal in 4, and you put the 2 Crusaders, the faster one in rank 1, and the slower one in 2. So you give them like a bracer and something else to differentiate their speed. So you lunge, lance, lance, lunge over and over. That's how you'd play this team. But let's see if they even talk about that. But I do like the shout out to Holy Lance and Crusader as a support healer. I do like that. It should be the stress heal if you have Vestal. You don't really need the battle heal, but yeah. Holy Lance is crucial as it lets both of them swap places and allows them to keep decimating enemies with that ability. They cannot do this up front. And they can't do it in rank 1 or 2, so you're not putting Grave Robber in 1 in a team like this. So the way the listed heroes make it sound like it's either an infinite lunge team or a Holy Lance like, you know, dance comp, but the way they're explaining how to play it doesn't actually give you that. So you'd have to switch some stuff up, but this team is pretty fun and it's really durable, so you could make it work. Vestal is generally great for healing and avoiding Death Star, while Grave Robber is excellent in dealing with evasive enemies using high accuracy attacks or buffs. I think they're talking about lunge. She has no buffs. No, she gets buffs to accuracy for throwing daggers. Okay. I think she has to hit with that though, so everyone needs accuracy. And trying to use Holy Lance to snipe backliners, you need more accuracy too. Moreover, the Grave Robber has a retreat attack for when the team gets ambushed or surprised and everyone gets shuffled. So she has Shadow Fade. Grave Robber's never out of position. That's the cool part about that character. So it's not a big deal. This is mostly good info. Just some of the specifics are wrong. Torchless runners, 3 Grave Robbers, already not a good idea. Vestal, debatable. But yeah, so Torchless runs are some of the most difficult gauntlet challenges in Darkest Dungeon. And the worst problem there is dealing with the lowered accuracy. You actually don't get lower accuracy for Torchless. The enemies get more accuracy, but your accuracy stays the same. They don't get dodge or anything like that. That's why 3 Grave Robbers will be doing God's work here to ensure that targets will be hit and bleed. So Grave Robber can't bleed. That's probably just a, I don't know, just a figure of speech there. Having 3 of them at the front lets all of them perform lunge attacks. They have to be in the back to perform lunge. They can also shuffle enemy positions. How? And serve some nasty critical attacks against the enemy. This part's true. While it's great for any locale, players might want to avoid areas with bony undead. Why? This party shines the most when killing the hag boss over and over. What? These are just words. This doesn't even make sense. This person does not play Torchless. 100%. They're not even recommending Gestal for Torchless. They have not played it, dude. 100%. This picture in the background is 4 Grave Robbers, and this is not Torchless. The background goes grayscale when you have no lights, so this definitely is not what they're doing. This is just total BS right here. 2 doctors, 2 patients, so double shield breaker, double leper from the sound of it, and we have Vestal and shield breaker in this party. So this is not the thing they're showing us. Also, are they killing? What is happening here? Okay, so we have Stress Wave. There's no rank 1 enemy. I'm assuming Shieldbreaker punctured this thing up to like rank 2 or something like that, because there's a Cultist Witch. Oh, it's a Cultist Brawler. Okay, never mind. I thought it was a Cultist Witch up front. Okay, we're good. I was like, do they just mow down frontliners? Is that how they play? Wait, what? 2 doctors, 2 patients. Flagellant. But that's Shieldbreaker. Okay. Another all-around team. The setup has a bit of everything and then some. The Leper is great for unexpectedly erasing some big threats when they crit with their big attacks. The Flagellant is of course awesome with its bleed application and works great against bosses and mushy enemies. Actually works better against prod enemies because you do damage over time instead of direct damage. The Plague Doctor applies Blight, which is always recommended during prolonged fights, such as those against bosses. Again, the Vestal is almost mandatory. I hate seeing that. Here for bringing troubled teammates out of Death's Door. For longer dungeons, replacing the Plague Doctor for something that has a stress heal during camping is recommended. So everyone can get encouraged. You don't need Gestal. So this is weird. This team on paper is actually decent because you have Flagellant and Plague Doctor together. The two of these can pretty much carry any other two characters with them because they're that powerful of a duo. Leper is very self-sufficient and Vestal is Vestal. So this person does not believe in Flagellant as a healer because they're bringing Vestal. You don't need Vestal with Flagellant. You just don't because of that. And you also don't need Vestal with Flagellant and Plague Doctor because you're locking stuff down and you have access to various forms of healing and prevention. So you really don't need that at all. And you don't need stress healing on a team like this if you have a fast enough Plague Doctor because she's going to stun the backline on turn 1, but this person probably uses Plague Grenade to open the fights. And Leper has the best self-heal in the game. And Flagellant has a camp skill that removes 50 stress. So stress is not an issue for these first 3 characters. If you are stunning enemies, you don't need a stress heal that much, especially if you're fast. So, decent team on paper, just really, really incorrect analysis that goes behind it. So, yeah, prevention's better than curing, as always. Only land misfits. This person really likes Crusaders. So, 3 Crusaders, 1 Plague Doctor. Gamers will probably see where the name came from. No. And how this party... What is this reference? If someone knows this reference, please tell me. I'm very curious. And how this party can inspire some gameplay zeal. Crusaders are some of the highest damage dealers in the game. This is actually true statistically. But, like, their 10 to 19 base is really high. But, like, Leper, Hellion, Abomination all do more damage. Highwayman can probably put out more consistent damage. And then Shieldbreaker arguably does more too because she can pierce armor every time. And Prot's pretty common. So, you know, they're good. But Crusader's strength is that he's a pretty big universal, like, generalist. So, anyway. They have small amounts of healing and stress healing. True. Making the team extremely resilient. True. In fact, players can even replace Plague Doctor in lighter dungeons. What? However, for instances where specialized debuffs and backline damage is warranted, Plague Doctor might be necessary. So, specialized debuffs. You talking about stuns? The only other debuff she has is accuracy on Noxious. But this team's okay. Like, any multiple amount of Crusaders can handle most things. You just have to stall. And they don't talk about stalling, so. Also, their picture is them getting afflicted, and there's a Highwayman in a vessel. So this is like the first dungeon. This looks like the first dungeon. No, it's not, because I think there's a treasure chest up here, not a curio. Anyway. Played too much of this game. Bleeding Butter, Flagellant Hellion, Highwayman Jester Houndmaster. So, this person has been hammering home the idea of Vestal on like every team. For the most part. And now they're just ditching Vestal. And I don't know if they're going to say you can use Flagellant. Let's see. Bleeding one's enemies to death in Darkest Dungeon is a safe tactic. But it does have its limitations. Bleed attacks don't work well against undead. Yeah. Cove, it's a little bit harder too, but you can still take it. Best part about this aspect is that most party members can hit multiple enemies and make them bleed all at once. Meanwhile, Jester's real MVP of the party due to stress healing and effective bleed procs. So the way they're handling this team is really just cleaving everything down. Like riposte and cleave everything down. So like you can do that, but there's no mention of Flagellant being the healer, because if you're on this team with Flagellant, this team's gonna do fine. If you're on it with Hellion, you really have to be very careful because there's no stuns. You're gonna get hit in the face every turn. So how does this team stay alive? You know, they don't talk about that. They don't talk about food healing or anything like that. So definitely don't take Hellion for the other three. Like take Flagellant if you want to run this team. Top brass. Man-at-Arms, Houndmaster, Herbalist, Vessel. So we're getting into the later bits of the article, and you can notice this always happens in these game journal articles. Like, the farther you get, the less they type, and it's always so funny to see it, because now we're just getting to, like, 2-sentence explanations. But yeah, these guys are all battle-hardened individuals and form a perfect military team, except Vestal, with the man-at-arms holding the battle standard. Also be doing the tanking, as the animal behind him isn't that tough. Arbalest is incredibly durable. He has one of the highest HP totals. She got plate armor, dude. What? And Houndmaster has pretty good dodge, so I don't know what the heck this is talking about. In terms of efficiency, this team has a high damage output with tons of crowd control potential. Having an Arbalest and Houndmaster also allows the players to deal with troublesome backline enemies. This is a solid team. It's a bit slow, because Vestal, Houndmaster's the fastest at like 7 base, I think. And the rest of them are less than that, so this team is pretty slow. It has mark potential, which is nice. It is pretty defensive, so it has no stress healing. That's the big issue. So if you run into stress issues, you really have to be careful. So definitely bring stress healing camp skills. But otherwise, like, you could throw Jester on this team instead of Vestal, and it becomes infinitely better, because you don't need Vestal with Arbalest. Arbalest can solo heal just fine, and they are definitely not doing that. Like, what I'm reading from this person is that Vestal is the only healer in the game. That's the only person they take for healing besides Crusader sometimes. And that's kind of sad, because like I said, you can use Plague Doctor. She's pretty effective at it because she prevents damage. Flagellant's really good at it. Crusader is pretty solid. Arbalest is great. So I wish there was more experimentation here. The Outcast. This is almost the Outsider's Bonfire. But Hellion Abomination, Occultist making his first appearance, and Plague Doctor. This team is solid on paper. The Grand All Heroes in Darkest Dungeon are outcasts, but these guys take care of being socially deviant. They're also a surprisingly effective group of misfits. The 2 spellcasters, again, Dungeons and Dragons Link. There's another one I'm going to talk about later, but yeah. So, in the back line, Plague Doctor and Occultist. Petey's a scientist, she's not a spellcaster, but I guess she kind of effectively plays one. Can stun and debuff enemies as well as heal. Occultist cannot stun in the back, but I do like Blinding Gas getting some love. The worst turn-based strategy games of all time. I'm gonna have to read that. Look at this, I'm getting clickbaited. The Abomination can also provide some nasty stuns. Okay. Meanwhile, the Hellion will outright kill everything while the targets can't move. Against bosses, as long as players can keep them stunned, it's a breeze for Hellion. Stuns aren't that effective against bosses. There's something they talked about earlier too, like Plague Doctor's good against bosses and prolonged fights. Plague Doctor's weakest area is actually boss fights. She crushes like every other regular fight, but since so many bosses are like really difficult to stun consistently, she can stun a lot of them, huh? But I don't know, like a lot of them are just too disruptive, that between that and their pretty solid stun resist, she's not usually the best thing to take against them. You can still take her obviously, but that's kind of not where she shines, I guess is a better way to say it. But this is probably one of the best teams they've put out in this guide so far, because you just have a ton of stun control. Stuns win this game, and having more stuns is good. And you also have 2 of the fastest stunners in the game, so that's really good. No frontline occultists. Like, if you wanted to make this really nasty as a team, you'd put occultists in 2 and Abomination in 3, and you just do what they say, stun everything until Hellion kills all of them. Let's see. Heroic heroes, Man-at-Arms, Crusader, Bounty Hunter, Vestal. So Man-at-Arms is a coward, Bounty Hunter is just a contract killer, so I don't know what they're talking about here. In contrast to the team of outcasts above, these heroes are as morally upright as the game allows them to be. Bounty Hunter just kills people for money. There's no morality here, he's just a killer. It performs similarly to the outcast team, except the Vestal is a better healer. Stress relief is also done by the Crusader. Okay, got some stress healing. But again, this is another slow team. Your highest speed person is 7. So you're gonna get hit in the face a lot. And again, the descriptions get shorter. Damage-wise, it deals good damage, or good amount, especially to backline enemies, thanks to the Bounty Hunter. Bounty Hunter really can't kill rank 4. I don't know what this is going on. So, like, this team is pretty good at killing, like, rank 3. Like, the way to play this team would actually be to put Bounty Hunter in 2 and Crusader in 4. But this person always puts Vestal in 4. So you put Crusader in 4, so you can get 2 Holy Lances, while Bounty Hunter, like, stuns and beats things up. And then you crush like rank 3 and stuff with Man-at-Arms. That's how the team would get rid of backliners. It's not with Crusader in 2. Hunting Party. This is just marked for death. Bounty Hunter, Houndmaster, Cultist, Arbalest. The way to play this team too is to probably put a Cultist in 1. As weird as that sounds, you put a Cultist in 1 on this team and Bounty Hunter in 3, and this team gets way better. I'd rather put Jester in the team over someone because Jester Mark is much better as a team, but if you want to run this specifically, put a Cultist in 1, Bounty Hunter in 3. It's all about, okay, when it comes to maximizing damage outputs, players won't find this team wanting. It's all about weakening the enemies before unleashing wrath upon them, is done with mark abilities that all party members possess. They do. 3 of them exploit mark, 2, or all 4 can use it, so that's solid. After that, it's a matter of killing the enemies, which is easy enough if they're all marked for execution. For other purposes, such as crowd control and survival, this team isn't bad, thanks to the Occultists and some stress management at camp. So that's Houndmaster. How does Occultist help with tanking? Or survival, because he can heal? We never use Battlefield Bandage, do we? But the one gameplay error for this team is you don't need to mark every single turn. Especially if you're not playing Blood Moon, where enemies have less HP. So you're supposed to just double tap backliners and stuff and kill them that way. And then if there's like a size 2 or a mini boss, you mark those and kill those. Okay, we got some specialized region teams. So Hellion, for Ruins, Hellion, Crusader, Vessel, Plague Doctor. Hellion does bleed damage for a couple things, so she's actually a bit less effective in Ruins, but she's still amazing. But yeah, finally Vessel in 3 and not 4. The Ruins can be nauseating place teaming with undead. Okay, so I'm going to just start skipping the exposition here. But Hellion in the front line can keep frontline enemies incapacitated with her stun. She's your prime damage dealer. You don't want to be yapping. Especially because you have Stunning Blow and Dazzling Light. You just hit things with Hellion. What the heck? Crusader is effective at killing backline enemies. They keep saying this. Crusader has bad accuracy and they're starting him up front. He can't kill backline enemies in that situation. But while the Vessel is just there for healing and some occasional emergency damage dealing. Judgment. The Plague Doctor shines best at casting Blight on enemies with high protection. So this team is okay. But I don't know. Like I would probably take Vessel off of it. Put Crusader in like rank 4 and then no. I think a better way to play this would be to put Crusader in, no, leave Crusader in 2 and replace Vessel with Highwayman. Because then you get stuns with Plague Doctor, you get spot heals with Crusader, and Adrenaline Rush if you want it, and then you have like Dual Savant's Holy Lance to cycle. And that would do just fine. Something like that. But let's see. Wheel Team, Man-at-Arms, Bounty Hunter, Occultist, Arbalest. This is, I think if you're going to run pseudo Mark for Death, I think Houndmaster is better. For this, I'd probably drop Bounty Hunter out of the 2 of them. The wheel is filled with organic enemies. Yeah. Bleed compositions might not be for everyone, so more standard team would be the wheel team above. What? Just run a bleed team. It's fine. Bounty Hunter keeps things under control, while Man-at-Arms soaks up damage and protects his allies. The Arbalest clears any stress-inducing nuisances, and the Occultist can prevent ambushes while dealing good damage to the backline. So this is referring to camping. But the way they present it makes it sound like they're trying to prevent surprises, which Occultists cannot do. But Arbalest is good for killing backline enemies, but she's so slow they're gonna get 1 or 2 turns guaranteed. So she's not the best at dealing with that. But what I do like here is having a lot of stuns and having Man-at-Arms up front, because he can guard your other frontliner and that helps you against giants. Also, this person is just, are these like pictures from the workshop? There's a loading screen. These look like mod pictures on some of them, because like this isn't game art. I mean, this is all game assets, but like this looks like someone's mod picture. I don't know, they're just, and here again, they're just like pilfering the Steam Workshop, aren't they? Which I guess is fine. Cove Team, Man-at-Arms, Abomination, Jester, Occultist. No frontline Occultist, feels bad. Seems similar to the one using the wheel that utilizes the same tactics with Man-at-Arms, keeping everyone alive by being the distraction. You gotta do damage, you know. Abomination is great at incapacitating enemies and inflicting blight against the tough ones. Solid. So let's see. Jester is invaluable in this sort of setup because he diminishes A-bomb stress causing disposition. Abomination can handle himself. You know, so if you're transforming, Jester is there to stress heal the others. But at that point, you'd be better off with Cry Havoc from Houndmaster. So I don't know. Main damage dealer here is Abomination, who can tear through enemy ranks after transforming. Honestly, the better way to play this team is to just stun everything and blight them out with Abomination. Just slow play it. You have so much control in this team, and you have some pretty decent recovery. So you just slow play it. You know, make all your fights take 4 or 5 turns, and you'll be fine. You don't have to transform unless it's like Collector shows up. That's not Cove specific. Even without his transformation, he can still be useful to the party. Human form is his better form, so I don't know what's up with that. Let's see. Warren's team: Hellion, Houndmaster, Grave Robber, Vestal. This is almost solid. Put Grave Robber in 4 so you don't disrupt Hellion, but this would be solid. This is a lunch team at that point. Warren's is a disease-ridden place, but the enemies there all bleed. Thus, bleed-heavy teams are welcome. If not, there's some lighter... Then something lighter like the Warren's team. What? So if you don't... Oh, I see. So like one of their bleed comps that they recommended is better, but if not, then run this. Okay, I was like, are you suggesting the same team as an alternative to itself? That's a bit weird. Hellion has multiple rules here, from stunning the front line to making enemies bleed. Grave Robber is thankfully not they don't call her a grave digger or something, so that's good. Is useful hero all around due to her snuff box. This is a very good point to make. Yeah, she cures 2 diseases. This is good. Houndmaster is a primary source of bleed status and can attack several enemies. This person loves Hound Terry, and I'm okay with that because I love that move too. And of course there's the Vestal. I was like, is she in this team? Makes every team competent enough to survive even in the darkest of dungeons. So I clicked this link at the end, and it was a Dungeons and Dragons link. Very strange. So that's it for this one in terms of the article. Some decent information, all things considered, even though it made, you know, it kind of sounded like I was ripping on it. There is some bad info. Like, don't get it twisted. There is some bad info in here, but there is some okay info too. And there's always just little inconsistencies, and that really shows that they don't play the game a lot, which bugs me. But anyway, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.